Here we see again we have another set of nested, so we work inside out. So cosine of 7 pi over 6 would be minus, because remember, 7 pi over 6 is here it's right here in the unit circle, so it's in quadrant 3. So from quadrant 3, we get that this is minus cosine of pi over 6 would be our, write this out, cosine of 7 pi over 6, just to be clear, is equal to minus, and then here's my reference angle here. So minus that, so that gives me minus square root 3 over 2. All right, then we take the inverse sine of minus square root 3 over 2. Notice inverse sine gives me stuff here. This is inverse sine's domain, right? Domain. So it will occur here. Okay, so this has the sine of theta, where theta is either from minus pi over 2 to pi over 2. What is that equal to minus square root 3 over 2? Well, it's not in the first quadrant, so it must occur in the fourth quadrant. And the fourth quadrant is just going to be the negatives of these. So if I was going to look for it where it was just positive, square root 3 over 2, that would be pi over 3. So now if it's negative, it would be minus pi over 3. All right. So here we have theta equals to minus pi over 3. So this is the answer to the question. So let me just move this over. So here, to evaluate this is minus pi over 3. All right. Now we're going to get into our law of cosine. So a triangle has three sides, A, B, and C. Find cosine of C. Sometimes on the test, on the finals and stuff, they'll ask you what is cosine of C. Sometimes they'll ask you what angle C. Be clear what it's asking. In this case, we're just looking for cosine of C. All right. So here we're going to use C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. Okay, I'm going to use the little cursive just so I make that capital C. Another way of writing this, if you know is cosine of capital C is equal to A squared plus B squared minus C squared all over 2AB. So if you solve for that, you should get this. Here we can just plug in those values. A squared is 5 squared. B squared, it's a funny looking B. B squared is 4 squared minus C squared, which is 6 squared, all over 2 times 5 times 4. And if I do that, this gives me 25 plus 16 minus 36 divided by 40. So we just crunch through some numbers real quick. So 25 plus 16 minus 36 gives us 5 on top. So this is 5 on top. Down below we have 40. 5 divided by 40 is the same as 1/8. Okay? And that's the answer here. If we're going to find what the angle C is, we take the inverse cosine or arc cosine of 1/8, and that would give us the angle. But remember, you need to answer the question that's being asked. What is cosine of C? Cosine of C is 1/8. Okay? All right, let's do a simplification. So here you have to simplify a trig expression. So sometimes it's a proof, sometimes it's a simplification. So in this case, it's a simplification. So let's just, usually the first thing you want to do is get rid of extra terms. So here we have two terms. Remember, terms are separated by plus or minus signs. So this is one term, this is another term. So we're going to just try to combine them. So we have minus, and I'm just going to multiply both top and bottom by secant x squared. So this one here is just secant x squared over secant x squared. So I'm just taking secant x, multiplied by top and bottom, and I'll get this. Then I'll have 2 plus tangent squared x minus secant squared x all over secant squared x. All right, now I can convert secants into tangents. So let's do that next. So I'll have 2 plus tangent squared x minus tangent squared x plus 1 all over secant squared x. All right, so now the two tangents cancel each other. One of these turns this into a 1, and so I'm just left with, this is equal to 1 over secant squared x, and I can simplify this even more, because that's 1 over cosine squared x, which is just equal to cosine squared x. And this is as simple as we can get it, so here is my simplification.